Good evening and welcome. You're watching this edition of the News Break, and we'll get you some story and some perspective, this time around from Gaza. Gaza has lost electricity after the only power station in this Palestinian enclave shut down. Earlier this week, Israel ordered a complete siege of the Strip, which is home to 2.3 million people, that's 23 lakh people, and one of the most densely populated areas in the world. Israel stopped supply of fuel, water, and food to Gaza. Israeli air raids also targeted the Rafah crossing, Gaza's sole border with Egypt, the only entry point for goods into Gaza. As far as Israel is concerned, there's an emergency unity government which has been formed. Over 2,200 people, we are being told, have died, and the toll continues to climb 5 days after the Palestinian militants, Hamas, launched a surprise attack on Israel, which has responded with massive shelling of Gaza. The pictures that we can now see, of course, this one was from the earlier attacks by the Hamas in Israel, but now the subsequent bombing that is taking place in Gaza presents a similar picture, if not gory. Israel said it had recaptured Gaza borders and the border areas that were invaded by Hamas militants in Saturday's assault, and was continuing heavy bombardments of the Palestinian enclave from air. Kadamini Sharma, my colleague, is now joining us live. Kadamini, I hope you are at a safe place now. I believe you visited one of those towns extremely close to the Gaza border, I guess about a couple of kilometers away. Would you like to tell us about what you saw?
We visited first of the towns which was hit by the terrorists, and we saw the place from where they came in. It is barely a few hundred feet from where we were standing. They crossed the fields and came to the road, and we saw the cars they had burnt. They had the cars had bullet marks on them. There was household stuff strewn on the streets, on the road. There were shoes, toys, eatables, and packets, which I suppose they were taking somewhere. The families were taking somewhere. That was one of the first places which was hit by the terrorists, and I saw it today firsthand. Now the situation there is like in the city there is the people have left. They have been evacuated from all the places which are close to Gaza Strip, and the rural areas as well as the other towns which are around. And now the security forces are stationed there in very large numbers. We saw a number of military vehicles moving in, moving out, large presence of police and IDF throughout the highways and inside the town. So there's a heavy police presence, and but what we saw, and that I have been saying from the very first day, is that the topography is such that the people from Gaza, if the fencing is broken, they can just walk in. So they did just walk in like that to that field, to that highway, and went on a rampage. They went inside the town. They were holed up in the police station. Finally, the police force had to bring down that police station themselves so that they can capture these terrorists. All 10 of them were killed, but so were police officers. That gun battle raged for almost 20 hours. And now, if you look at that city, it is completely silent. That is something very disturbing. Now I have come back from there. Even Ashkelon is not very safe. Now we have come back, and since we have come back, we saw, as you might have seen in the report, that the moment we had reached there in Sderot, we had seen a barrage of rockets fired at that town. So we were asked to leave early, be safe. We came back to Ashkelon, and here too, for the last 2-3 hours, we have been facing the same problem. There are rockets fired continuously within 50 minutes or 20 minutes, 30 minutes gaps. There are rockets fired. They are intercepted. We can hear the boom of intercepting, but also we can hear the airstrikes which are taking place in Gaza. It is so close from here, barely 10 to 12 kilometers. So you can understand how this is impacting the lives of people. If you go out on the streets here, you wouldn't see many people. They have been asked to stay in. When last night there was an information about Hamas terrorists being around, so people were told to, an unwritten direction is there, unwritten rule is there that you'll switch off the lights of your homes. 3 of the Hamas terrorists were killed right here in Ashkelon, and there are some doubts that there might be at least 3 more. So there is threat at the borders with Gaza as well as the southern area of Israel, where there might still be some of the Hamas terrorists who have not been neutralized or arrested, lurking around and trying to do some sort of harm to the people here. Sanket?
That's right. Stay safe. Thank you very much, Kadambini Sharma, for getting us that report. Now, Kadambini and Mr. Uma Shankar Singh, both who are visiting the various parts of this war-torn region. As we told you, they visited this town called Sderot in the morning. Now they are in Ashkelon and getting us these reports regularly. Let's take a look at all the reports that they've filed through the course of the day.
We tried to talk to some of the people here, some of the security personnel here, but they have told us not to take pictures, not to talk. अंदर इधर We can hear the sudden rocket attacks right now during Sderot. It is very close, being intercepted by the Iron Dome, but there are more coming in.
हम पहुंचे और यहाँ पे जो हमला है वो शुरू हो गया है इस तरीके से एक साथ
Very close. There are more coming in. There are more coming in.
एक साथ रॉकेट जो है
Being intercepted by the Iron Dome, but there are more coming in. You can see it right now being intercepted. This is very close to Gaza border. This is Sderot, very close to Gaza border, within minutes, and this is what we have seen here today. There wasn't even much time to react. We ran to take shelter, and this is a continuous situation here. So we are shooting here just near Sderot, inside Sderot police station, where the terrorists holed up for several hours. The gun battle went on for several hours. Finally, several policemen were killed, almost 24 policemen were killed, while there were 10 terrorists inside, holed up inside. In this area, they drove on the streets on bikes and trucks, and this is also the area where they killed several people. It's not been many hours since these bodies have been removed from here, from this place, and the city is still reeling because of this. There is an absolute silence here everywhere, and only the police personnel and other media persons are seen here. So this city came under direct attack the very first thing, and there are still questions about how this took place, why there was no intelligence about it, but that is something which will come on later. Today, what we have seen is that the Israeli forces are trying to deal with the situation which has been created after this attack, and the attacks on the retaliatory attacks on Gaza are continuing, but the barrage of rockets from here just does not stop. There are also several other fronts which are open, like there was a rocket attack from Syria. Hezbollah is trying to attack from the north. So these are the things which are taking place right now here. And I would also like to show you how where people were killed, and there are people who are coming in, and they are paying tribute for those who have fallen to this terrorist attack. Here I would show you how people have put flowers right here. Right here they have put flowers in remembrance for all those who died in the terror attack here. So a very difficult time here in Israel, a very difficult time for civilians, a difficult time for a country, and lots of tensions, lots of apprehensions about how the situation is going to develop. Even now, since Saturday till today, when situation is much under control here, there's a huge security presence right here, and we are trying to talk to some of the security personnel or the police personnel who are there, who are stationed here. This area is very close to Gaza, as we are saying again and again, and that's the reason that this presence is here. This is just near the police station where policemen were killed. The gun battle went on for around 20 hours here, just here, and this is the place where terrorists came in. The first thing, these are the places, the border areas where these terrorists came in and took over this police station. I'm standing in Sderot. It is minutes away from Gaza Strip, and right behind me what you see is the site of a police station which is being razed to ground now. This is the same police station which saw the onslaught of terrorists. Almost 10 terrorists were cooped in inside, holed up inside, and they were firing at people. The gun battle between the police personnel of Israel and these terrorists lasted for several hours, almost 20 hours. Finally, there was no other option, and this had to be demolished. Whatever was left of it was a rubble, and now it's being demolished. This is the same city of Sderot, the place where the terrorists came in on the Saturday morning. These quiet neighborhoods were reverberating with the noise of guns. These terrorists were carrying weapons, waving weapons from their trucks, their bikes, and firing indiscriminately at anyone. This was one of the first places where it happened on that Saturday morning. Even now, when we are looking at the situation, the grimness of it is quite clear. How it unfolded right here, right in this place. Now when we move around the city, there's not much, everything is quiet. The only presence we see is this bulldozer, which is now removing the rubble. Many policemen died here trying to save this town.
There's also a message from Ambassador Sanjeev Singla. This is for the Indian diaspora. Let's listen in.
To our fellow Indian citizens in Israel, this is to assure you that the embassy is working constantly for your safety and welfare. All of us are going through very difficult times, but please do remain calm and vigilant and follow the local security guidelines. We are here to help you, and we thank many of you who sent so many messages of appreciation to us. We are monitoring the situation closely, and please stay tuned for any updates by the ambassador. Jai Hind.
So what exactly is going to happen from here on? Is Israel going to enter Gaza? We all know that there are airstrikes that are happening continuously, but will they go in? Will they cross the border and go in? Hamas has taken 150 Israeli hostages, and this seems to be a huge priority for Israel to get those hostages back. However, officially, the spokespersons of the government say that they will respond to Hamas's attacks with a massive assault, will respond with unprecedented force, but will Israel mount a ground offensive is that big million-dollar question.
Israeli warplanes are hammering the Gaza Strip, reducing buildings to rubble and sending people scrambling for safety in the sealed-off territory that is now suffering severe retaliation for the deadly weekend attack by Hamas terrorists. The big question is whether Israel will launch a ground assault in Gaza.
It's left as something inhuman to see baby carriages with bullet holes in them and blood. Who goes up to a baby and kills a baby? Who kills a mother? I see the bodies in their homes.
Currently, Benjamin Netanyahu's big challenge is Israel's hostage crisis. The 150 hostages present a significant problem for an Israeli government that has vowed to respond to Hamas's attacks with a massive assault and unprecedented force. But Hamas officials say they have planned for all possibilities.
It's not a war. It's not a battlefield. It's a massacre. It's a terror activity.
Is unleashed.
The US president has condemned these attacks as sheer evil, as the US initiates talks with Israel and Egypt about a safe passage for Gaza civilians.
Bloody hands of the terrorist organization Hamas. This was an act of sheer evil. More than 1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel.
While Joe Biden has equated Hamas with ISIS and accused it of unleashing anti-Semitism, regarding Iran's involvement, the White House says Iran is complicit, but there's no specific evidence of its support. The United States has also confirmed their intelligence did not pick up signs of Hamas's attack.
We did not see anything that suggested an attack of this type was going to unfold any more than the Israelis did.
On the other hand, the Gaza Strip's sole power plant and only provider of electricity will run out of fuel in 10 to 12 hours, while doctors on the ground say Gaza's health system could collapse within 1 week.
We are doing everything we can, but very soon the food supplies and basic needs in Gaza are going to run out.
The question now is whether the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will continue with his promise to flatten the enclave, which is home to 2.3 million trapped civilians, or reoccupy it. Israel's defense minister has said he has released all restraints on his troops, adding, and I quote, that Gaza will never return to what it was. There are also growing signs that the fighting on the Gaza front will drag in other actors and theatres. Parmeshwar Bava for NDTV.
But does the view of the Hamas represent the views of all the Gaza residents? Or is Hamas facing rebellion from Gaza residents? Do they enjoy that mass support from Gaza for what has been done? Hamas took over the Gaza Strip in 2007. Its hardline approach does not have mass appeal. In fact, it does not have appeal even in the West Bank. So what really is the position in Gaza right now vis-a-vis the control of Hamas? Let's take a look at this presentation.
Gaza Strip, 50 miles long and 7 miles wide, and shares its border with Egypt and Israel, is under intense attack after Hamas's terror attack on Israel.
ولا إشي ضل لا شقة ولا ماء ولا محل كل هذا انكسف خلال 4 ساعات أو 6 ساعات كانوا اليهود قاضيين علينا تقريبا كانوا يخبطوا كل صاروخ بينه وبين الثاني دقيقة أو 40 ثانية بادوا المنطقة ولا إشي ضل كنا محاصرين 30 شخص جوا العمارة جوا البدرم.
Israel pulled out of Gaza and handed it over to the Palestinian leadership in 2005. But Hamas took it over in 2007 from Palestinian Authority, and since then it has been ruling over the Strip. But does it have a mass support? The residents of Gaza have repeatedly taken out protests against Hamas despite a brutal crackdown. In August this year, security forces in Gaza Strip prevented protesters from holding rallies across the territory against Hamas's authoritarian rule, as well as its failure to improve dire living conditions. Various anti-Hamas activists in exile have joined the campaign, urging Gazans to take to the streets and demand a better standard of living. Hamas takeover of Gaza Strip in 2007 from the secular Palestinian leadership prompted Israel and Egypt to place the territory under a blockade to stymie the flow of arms to the group. A blockade restricts the importing of goods, including electronic and computer equipment that could be used to make weapons, and prevents most people from leaving the territory. The restrictions have shattered the economy in Gaza, which has a population of more than 2 million people. Last year, the unemployment rate was over 45%. Only 10% of residents have direct access to clean water, according to a UNICEF analysis from 2020. Electricity works for only several hours a day, and many complex medical procedures are not available. The Hamas has also been accused of being brutal with those voicing for peace between the two states. While Hamas permits Palestinian merchants, Palestinian Authority officials, ill persons and some other groups to communicate with Israelis, it has taken a hard line against Palestinians engaging with Israelis on a socio-political level. The attacks in Gaza may have quelled the rebellion for now, but with a strict economic blockade imposed on Gaza, the public anger is only expected to grow in near future. With Mohammad Ghazali, Osama Shah for NDTV.
Ghazali is now with us to explain this in greater detail. Ghazali, it's over to you.
So the only entity which has been elusive in this longest conflict has been peace. Now, Israel and Palestine's conflict is one of the longest and most controversial, stretching to over 7 decades. There have been a number of attempts at bringing peace between the two sides, but to no avail. In 1993, Israeli Prime Minister Isaac Rabin and Arafat shook hands on the Oslo Accords on limited Palestinian autonomy. Arafat and Rabin both received the Nobel Peace Prize along with the then Israeli Foreign Minister Shimon Peres the following year. The agreement between the Israeli and Palestinian leadership saw each side recognize the other for the first time, and both sides also pledged to end their decades-long conflict. Then again, a second accord known as Oslo II was signed in September 1995 and went into more detail on the structure of the bodies that the peace process was supposed to form. A final treaty was to be reached in 5 hours, but that hasn't happened yet. The Camp David summit of 2000 saw President Bill Clinton, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, and Arafat failed to reach a final peace deal. Yet again in 2002, an Arab plan offered Israel normal ties with all Arab countries in return for a full withdrawal from the lands it took in the 1967 war, creation of a Palestinian state, and a just solution for Palestinian refugees. Peace efforts have been stalled since 2014 when talks failed between Israelis and Palestinians in Washington. Then Palestinians later boycotted dealings with the administration of the US President Donald Trump, since it reversed decades of US policy by refusing to endorse the two-state solution. The two-state formula envisages a Palestinian state established in territory that Israel captured in 1967. US President Joe Biden has focused on trying to secure a grand bargain in the Middle East that includes normalization of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. The latest war is diplomatically awkward for Riyadh as well as for other Arab states, including some Gulf Arab states that have signed peace deals with Israel.
Right, thank you very much, Ghazali, for that detailed explainer on the journey towards peace, which has always been elusive. But let's move on now to some other news. Shahid Latif, the mastermind behind the Pathankot attack and one of India's most wanted terrorists, was shot dead by unknown assailants in Pakistan's Sialkot on Wednesday. Shahid Latif, the key conspirator and co-coordinator of the terrorist attack at the Air Force Station Pathankot on the 2nd of January 2016, he has been killed by unknown gunmen inside a masjid or a mosque in Sialkot. In the attack, 7 security personnel were also killed. Shahid Latif was working as a Maulvi in the Noor Masjid in Daska Tehsil in Sialkot in Pakistan. The NIA, or the National Investigation Agency, has registered a case against Shahid Latif in connection with the Pathankot airbase attack case. Latif is also accused in the hijacking of an Indian Airlines aircraft in IC-814 in Kandahar.
आज सुबह फजर की नमाज के दौरान एक अंतोनाक वाक़या पेश आया। नूर मस्जिद मंडी की गोराया थाना सदर डस्का ज़िला सियालकोट में ये वाक़या है। अननोन गनमैन आए हैं अंदर, उन्होंने फायरिंग की है। इसको हम टारगेट किलिंग भी कह सकते हैं और टेररिज्म तो डेफिनेटली इसको हम ट्रीट कर रहे हैं। इसमें शाहिद साहब की और साथ हाशिम साहब थे, उनकी इंतकाल हो गया, और तीसरे जो मजरूब हैं उनके इलाज जारी है अब्दुल अहद साहब की। मौके से हमने जो अहम शवाहिद हैं वो इकट्ठे किए हैं, उन पे हम काम कर रहे हैं। शाहिद साहब को सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट भी था, उसके मुताबिक वो अपनी पोजीशन रखते थे, और चीज़ों को जो है उसके मुताबिक देख रहे हैं। तमाम इदारे इस वक्त साथ यहाँ पे इसकी तफ्तीश कर रहे हैं, और इंशाअल्लाह ताला हम इसको जल्द जो है वो ट्रेस करेंगे।